Readers,
reviewers,
countrymen,
lend us your ears. Welcome to the Brothers Gwynne channel. This is one of our first videos, and today we'll be talking about 3 of our favourite series that we want the other brother to read. So Ed, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I'll kick us off. We have a book here, which is Christian Cameron's Tom Swan series. Now, I haven't actually got a physical copy of this book because there weren't that many printed, and they are mega money at the moment. So Christian, please print more. I'm only a poor teacher after all, and I can't fund this lifestyle, especially if I want to be able to buy armour after I read these, which reading these novellas makes you want to do. So these are they're a collection of 6 novellas in the first story, and together they feel all like a whole book, because they're quite long novellas, really. And all together they do feel the length of a book. And what I really like about them is that they feel like episodes. They definitely feel like episodes of TV. So each one is kind of like a little bit like a standalone adventure with a cool cast of characters. Now, firstly, we love characters. The main character is called Tom Swan, great name. And he is a young man who was in an English army. And it starts off with the English losing a battle in the 100-Year War against the French.
Great.
And this is 1450s kind of time.
We love that period of history.
Yeah, exactly. We reenact it, don't we? So, and Tom Swan loses a battle, and then he blunders his way through life.
I remember when you were reading, you just blitzed through them and you were obsessed.
Yeah, they could take an evening to read. So there's lots of episodes, and I say episodes because Christian's written them, so they can kind of be translated onto TV. They feel like episodes. Now I'm going to ask you one question.
Okay.
This isn't pre-rehearsed. What is your favourite TV show ever?
Merlin.
Yes, I knew it. Okay. Now this, if there was anything like Merlin, it would be this. This is like a more adult version of Merlin, the BBC one. Obviously Sam Neill was great, but the one with what's the guy's name? Colin Morgan.
Yes.
Colin Morgan.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it, and they are addictive, and because they're pretty short, but 6 novellas it does feel like a whole book, you know, and they're just brilliant. I would recommend them. They're so much fun. It's not like really bogged down with politics, even though there is politics in there, but it's really cleverly done. There's so many different scenarios as well, and I like how it always feels fresh.
You're a great advocate for it. I'm definitely going to read Tom Swan's novellas. Okay, so my first choice for Ed is Wolf of the Plains, book 1 of the Conqueror series by Con Iggulden. So I'm going to set a bit of the context. So it's a historical fiction series. It is about Genghis Khan. Now we know Genghis Khan to have created the greatest, most impressive empire known in the history of human civilization, the Mongol Empire. And Wolf of the Plains starts Temujin, Genghis Khan. It starts off his story, and I think you've read Con Iggulden's Emperor series,
yeah,
by Julius
loved
Caesar,
it.
And I know Ed loved Emperor, so you definitely get on with his writing style.
Yep.
And you really enjoy his writing, so that is already a tick. And this concept, can you get much cooler than going through the story of a singular character, Genghis Khan, who rose from practically nothing to becoming the most famous leader in the world? You can't get much cooler than that. The scale of this series, it feels like a fantasy series. It's so epic. It's so huge scale. Each book, you think, it can't get bigger, and then somehow it does.
So can I ask? So Genghis Khan, is he the guy who conquered China?
Yes. So he was actually the first person who breached the Great Wall of China. And I think, Ed, you will love the prose. Obviously, the concept, it's crazy. He rises from, so they live on the steppe. It's a horse culture. I know you love the idea of horse cultures.
Yeah.
You loved it when you were researching Native Americans. It was part of their culture that you fell in love with, and it is present within the steppe and the Mongol culture. And Temujin starts just with his family, and I won't go into any more detail. I want you to find out everything on your own, but you find out how he goes from that just small family in the steppe, in the wilderness practically, to becoming the figure he became.
Sounds good to me. I mean, what I'm interested to see is how a horse culture like that, beat everyone else on such an epic scale. So obviously, learning about Native American tribes, they weren't able to do that at all. They couldn't go and conquer cities, couldn't go and take on something like China.
Well,
so I'm looking forward to finding that
you
out.
will find out what these can do. Conor Gooden gives you all those answers. So,
Good
sold?
pitch, Will. I like it.
Sold?
Yes, good
There
start.
we go.
Right then, book 2, second series is The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. This is book 1 of The First Law. Okay,
His first series.
Yeah, his first
Okay.
release. This is actually his debut, which is just mind-blowing when you see how good it actually is. There's something with Joe's writing, his style, which I think you will fall in love with. I know that you've read The Shattered Sea. Is it Shattered Sea?
Yeah, Shattered Sea.
His YA kind of series, but I think this is his strength, his adult characters, his grit, his authenticity, and everything is so funny. I'm just going to read off the blurb to you. And it could be like a book drop moment. I won't drop it.
Lovely
because
cover.
It's a lovely, it is a lovely cover. Nice. I think it's the 10th anniversary hardcover. Let me read off the blurb.
Okay.
A crippled, bitter torturer. A dashing, useless army officer. A berserker who no longer has a cause. And the bald old fraud of a magus who brings them all together. So...
They sound like 4 great characters.
Yeah.
So are they 4 different perspectives, 2 different POVs?
Yeah, and there's kind of a smattering of other minor character POVs. You've got.
Okay.
I won't actually go into who
But they're the main 4 figures.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you've got the crippled bitter torturer Sandan Glockter. Now he used to be kind of like the star of the army.
Okay.
And he got tortured. He got captured and tortured in a war. And now he's actually a torturer himself, who's got a very horrible limp. He's got a messed up body. He's basically got no gnashers. And he uses what he learned being tortured to torture other people. And it starts off with, his sarcasm just leaps off the page, and it's so funny. Straight away, you'll be hooked.
Is he quite bitter?
He's very bitter
Sounds
and
bitter.
twisted. Yeah, so I mean, he's brilliant. And he's kind of playing like the Game of Thrones, as it were, kind of thing. All you can see all of his thoughts on the page, and they're so different to what he actually says to people. So that's really good. I love his perspective.
I think the thing with Joe Abercrombie is, I just know his characters are so iconic. All here is everyone talking about Logan, Nine Fingers, Glockter, and Jezzel.
Yeah.
Are they all 3 in this?
There's 3 in here exactly. Jezzel is the dashing, useless army officer. Kind of takes that trope of a young, good-looking, amazing swordsman, and he makes him a complete vain, arrogant git. There's a scene where he's just looking in the mirror and he's just admiring his jaw and his chin and all that, and it's just, it feels like, how did Joe write someone so well like this? And it thinks, Joe, are you Jezzel? But then Joe, are you Glockter? That's the worrying thing. And then when we get to Logan,
we could go down a dark path.
Yeah, Logan is a northerner. He's an ex kind of first sword, kind of thing. An ex-champion. He's fallen out with his king, who's united all of the barbarian tribes.
Okay.
And they're now going down to take on the Empire with the dashing, useless army officer.
Okay.
And Logan doesn't want to be a part of that, basically. So it starts off with him on the run, kind of thing, with his crew.
Okay.
But he gets torn away from his crew, and then it's his journey. But he's such a lovable character, Logan. He's a messed up guy. He's got a bad past. He's got a little bit of a different side to him, we will say. And I won't spoil it. I won't say anything else. He is a berserker. So but he's a great character. But what people love about Joe's writing is his characters. Really, he really gets under their skin. And even if it's a minor character, I will be able to. But by the time you finish this, you'd be able to just turn to a random page, read a bit of dialogue, and you would know exactly who's saying it, because he knows the characters so well. So that is my second book for you. I think you will love that, because how can you not?
Sure, I will.
Love it. They're brilliant.
I haven't heard of anyone disliking Joe Abercrombie. The only thing I've heard is it's too grimdark, but they complement his prose, characters, and plot.
Even though they're such horrible people, there's no one's good. They all do it for their own selfish reasons, But you really get behind them, and you want them to beat the other bad ones,
People say that Joe Abercrombie just saturates the romanticism out of everything.
Yeah, there's fighting. It's so brutal and grim. There's blood everywhere, teeth flying, everyone's falling over. I mean, there's his conversations. Nothing's ever really fluid. Sometimes some characters are pretty smart and pretty witty.
Yeah.
But, no one's as like in the films. And then even
So
like
it goes for authenticity.
even his sex scenes. I mean, it's just. Especially listening to it. It's not pretty reading. No, not at all. So,
well, that's how Ed sells the Blade itself.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now on to my second book. It is Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. Book 1 of the trilogy called Book of the Ancestor. I'm actually borrowing this lovely hardback from my dad, John Gwynne. Thank you. I'm looking after it. So this is Book 1 of Book of the Ancestor. Before I go any further in, I'm just going to read the opening line, which I think you've heard before. I see so many people.
Yeah, I've seen it a few times on Fantasy Faction, but it's a great first line.
Okay, so. It is important, when killing a nun, to ensure that you bring an army of sufficient size.
Sold.
Well, I mean, if you're not hooked, then...
Definitely,
yeah. So,
what a great opening.
So, as you saw there, so she's a nun. Imagine, so you have warrior nuns mixed in with a warrior school.
Sounds a bit like
Bloodsong. Like
thing.
Bloodsong.
Cool.
Oh, I love that book. And what makes Bloodsong so brilliant is that experience of how he grows.
Yeah.
From a young boy into adulthood,
Yeah.
with his bunch of friends around him. And that is transcribed into Red Sister, Book of the Ancestor, in the figure of Nona Grey. Now, for Nona Grey, so Logan, Wolverine, a brilliant film, by the way. Imagine his daughter.
Yeah. The crazy little thing.
Make her crazier, and you have Nona Grey.
Okay.
Now put Nona Grey in a warrior school where she's trained.
Nice.
And add a bit of magic into there, and you have Red Sister. Obviously, you've read some Mark Lawrence's works. Before,
Yeah, the Prince of Thorns trilogy.
and you love his prose.
Yeah.
He's
lovely.
got beautiful prose. It's fluid. It's so efficient. You're just carried on the it makes the pacing so perfect, and that is brought over to Red Sister. So you've got warrior nuns and the warrior school for plot.
Yeah.
You've got the characters of Nona Grey and many others, but I'll let you find them yourself. And you've got the prose of Mark Lawrence. Need I say any more?
Yeah, that is a recipe for greatness.
Yeah, so this is a great fantasy series, one of my favourite trilogies of all time. And I remember with Mark Lawrence, you were actually revising for your exams.
Yeah.
And you didn't revise for them, let's put
No,
it that way.
I encountered the word procrastination, and I found, I regained my love of books. So I preferred it over revising for law. So
maybe this time you've learnt, and you will read this before
I don't have exams
you reach
anymore,
your deadline. So yeah.
Yeah.
So that is Red Sister, the second series I would pitch to Ed. I think everyone would love it, but I think especially Ed will.
Yeah, that sounds good to me, mate. Nice one.
Great.
Right then, over to my last pick. Now, this is by an author who we love dearly, don't we? We've met Sebastian de Castell a few times.
Yeah.
He's such a great guy.
So funny, so
Yeah.
nice, just brilliant.
Yeah, he's a wonderful man. But his book, Traitors Blade, is equally as wonderful as well. Now, everyone says this is a swashbuckling, can't even say it, a swashbuckling book of greatness. And it's kind of a throwback to the Princess Bride, the Three Musketeers kind of thing.
Brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant.
I love the cover.
Yeah,
I just
the cover's
it's
lovely.
quite simple, but
Yeah.
I just really love it.
Yeah, and Sebastian's actually, I think he used to be a fencer, or he is a fencer. He practices fencing. So Falco, you see here, has 2 rapiers, and
Very
the fight scenes in this are brilliant, because obviously I think Sebastian comes at it from the practical point of view.
Brings that
But
authenticity
Yeah,
and perspective to it.
this is a fantasy world, through and through. There's magic, there's dukes. There's this band called the Greatcoats, which used to be employed by the king.
Okay.
They're made by the ex-king, but basically all of the dukes got together, kicked the king off the throne, so the king's
A
dead.
coup.
And the
revolution.
Greatcoats
Okay.
are no longer respected.
Okay.
They no longer work for the king. They're kind of like hired hands sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And we follow 3 Greatcoats in Falkio, who's kind of
Yeah.
the leader of them, the cleverer one, you would say. Kest, who's really clever, but he's the greatest swordsman basically ever. And then you've got Brasty, who's the greatest.
I've heard you talk about Brasty before.
Brasty Goodbow is just one of the best characters ever. And he's so funny. And I find, at first, you think he's just kind of like, he's going to be the funny one. He's always cracking jokes, always the one who wants to charge into danger. And by the 4th book, he's got like such a different side to him. And really, like Falkio, the main character here, he can get on your nerves. He can make the wrong decisions.
Yeah.
You're like, just do what Brasty says, just run in and kill them all, that kind of thing. But it's brilliant. This is so much fun, and the 3 of them, they have the best kind of bromance trio of all time. I much prefer it over many other bromances I've read. Lots of people say Locke and Jean from the Lies of Locke Lamora.
Okay. I haven't read that yet.
But I would say these 3, their connection is just absolutely golden.
And sorry. How many are in the series?
4. And
Okay.
each one gets bigger and each one gets better. And it kind of goes from them 3 trying to make their way through the world to kind of a big epic plot. So it does get really epic, but it always hones in on the characters.
So you have a good mixture then, it starts small scale.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
definitely. And we're, in true Sebastian style, it's hilarious through and through. He's a very funny guy, and that doesn't change here.
Great.
Enjoy.
So now over to my 3rd pick, and it is The Rage of Dragons, book 1 of the series called The Burning. Book 2 was released last year, The Fires of Vengeance, and this is Evan Winter's debut series. Okay. Do you remember when I read this about a year ago?
Yes.
And I came to it without knowing what it was about at all, and so I don't want to tell you too much.
Look at the cover. That's what a nice cover.
Oh,
as
it's
well.
lovely,
It looks
isn't
so
it?
different.
Yeah. So I don't want to go into too much detail because I want you to come from the perspective I did. Because as I just read through it, I was just like, what is going on?
I will say, alright, so it's called The Rage. I've seen on Twitter people say the main character, I can't remember his name, but is he like is he literally too angry to die? That's the
You could
impression
say
I
that,
get.
but you see, it is. I think Evan Winter. This book is one of the best books I've ever written. I'd call it a masterpiece.
You wrote this, did you?
Sorry about that. It's a masterpiece, one of the best that I've read. I've not written any
I was
books
going to
yet.
say,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm sorry for for taking praise for this. It is Evan Winter's masterpiece. So the character's Tao, yes, he is too stubborn to die. I think I've seen many people describe this as a mixture of Game of Thrones and Gladiator. I haven't read or watched Game of Thrones, but I think that what they mean...
are 2 completely different, comparisons, but
I think
together that sounds really cool.
I think what they mean with Game of Thrones is that grittiness.
Yeah, right. Okay.
And the authenticity of characters.
Yeah.
And it is authentic. The characterization is incredible. The dialogue is so natural. It's like most books you read, you find that it's a bit forced for plot.
Yeah, would you actually say that?
But this is completely natural. And Gladiator, Tao is taken into a training regime, and that is where you encounter the Gladiator part.
Nice.
And I want to talk. We will do a video where we talk in detail, but I don't want to tell you too much. It is an incredible book. You will absolutely love it. His battle sequences, be they small scale or large, you have both, be they with magic or duels, they are all incredible. Every single aspect of this, I know every single thing I'm saying is amazing, it's amazing, but it's true. I cannot praise it enough. There was no fault. It was flawless.
And you're a hard man to please.
I am very hard to please. I can be very picky sometimes.
Yeah.
It's quite easy for me to enjoy a book, but it's very, very rare that I will say something is flawless. And I'm going to read The Fires of Vengeance soon. I've had it waiting for a while, but I've just wanted to give it the time it deserves. So, please read this. So, there you go. Those are the 3 series we would sell to the other brother. We were originally going to do 3 books that we'd pitch the other brother, but we thought that's too hard. So, we're going to have another video in a few weeks talking about standalones.
Yeah, and definitely, guys, let us know in the comments if, you know, what ones you think we should start first. What are your favourite picks out of these, or do you have any others that you would recommend to someone? Obviously, William and I kind of know each other's tastes, so we can gauge what kind of books that the other one enjoys, but do let us know what you would recommend, or what you thought of any of these picks. What I like here is that we actually, without realising it, chose 2 fantasy books and a historical series. Each to start, so that says a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
But no, I think we've got some good reads here, Will. Please let us know in the comments below what you think of them. Give us a like, give us a subscribe if you don't mind.
Yeah, we hope you've been enjoying our first few videos on the channel. We're really enjoying making them, and I think that's all from us today. So, the Brothers Gwynne.
Truth and courage.
Truth and courage.